Look at a globe today, and you will find humans living in almost every corner of the planet, from frozen Arctic tundras to dense tropical rainforests. But it was not always this way. For the vast majority of our history, our ancestors lived exclusively in Africa. Around 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens emerged on the African continent, sharing the landscape with diverse wildlife and adapting to varied ecosystems over hundreds of generations. Then, a profound shift occurred. Small groups began to venture beyond their homeland, embarking on a journey that would permanently alter the face of the Earth. How did a single species travel so far, cross vast oceans, and adapt to completely unfamiliar environments? The story of the human diaspora is a complex puzzle put together by archaeologists, geneticists, and climate scientists. It is a tale not of a grand, planned migration, but of gradual movements driven by climate shifts, changing food sources, and an innate human curiosity. To understand how this journey began, we have to look back at the climate of Africa tens of thousands of years ago. The continent's environment was highly dynamic, fluctuating between periods of heavy rainfall and severe drought. During wet phases, areas that are now arid deserts, like the Sahara, transformed into lush green corridors filled with lakes and vegetation. These green periods opened natural pathways, allowing early humans to follow game animals northward. Around 120,000 years ago, an early wave of humans reached the Levant, the region encompassing modern-day Israel, Jordan, and Lebanon. However, fossil evidence suggests this initial foray was temporary, as changing climates likely pushed them back or caused the populations to fade. The definitive migration that populated the rest of the world occurred much later, roughly 70,000 to 60,000 years ago. During this period, a severe drop in global temperatures locked water into massive ice sheets, causing sea levels to drop worldwide. This transformed the geography of coastal regions. In East Africa, the narrow strait known as the Bab el-Mandeb, which separates the Horn of Africa from the Arabian Peninsula, became much narrower than it is today. A small group of humans, perhaps only a few hundred individuals, crossed this shallow channel, stepping onto the Arabian Peninsula and leaving Africa behind for good. Once in Arabia, these early travelers largely followed the coastlines. Coastlines provided a reliable and abundant source of food, such as shellfish, fish, and marine mammals, which required less complex hunting strategies than large land animals. This coastal route allowed humans to move relatively quickly around the perimeter of the Arabian Peninsula, through modern-day Iran and India, and down into Southeast Asia. Because the marine environment remained relatively consistent along these coasts, humans did not need to radically alter their survival tools or strategies as they moved eastward. This rapid coastal expansion eventually brought humans to the edge of Southeast Asia around 50,000 years ago. At the time, lower sea levels joined many modern islands into a massive landmass known as Sundaland. But to reach Australia, which was part of a separate landmass called Sahol, these ancient mariners faced a daunting challenge. They had to cross up to 90 kilometers of open ocean. Using sophisticated bamboo rafts or watercraft, they successfully navigated these deep waters, reaching Australia by at least 65,000 years ago, establishing deep roots in a completely unique ecosystem. While some groups followed the southern coasts, other populations pushed northward into the heart of Eurasia. Moving inland required significant behavioral adaptations. As humans entered Europe and Central Asia around 45,000 years ago, they encountered much colder climates and entirely new species, including the Neanderthals. Rather than a violent conquest, genetic evidence reveals that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals interacted and interbred. To survive the harsh Eurasian winters, humans developed advanced, tailored clothing from animal furs, built shelters from mammoth bones, and refined their stone tool technologies. The final major frontier of the human journey was the Americas. During the height of the last ice age, around 20,000 years ago, so much water was frozen that a vast land bridge emerged between Siberia and Alaska, known as Beringia. Human populations adjusted to the extreme Arctic cold of this region, following herds of megafauna across the land bridge. As the ice sheets began to melt and retreat, these resilient groups expanded rapidly southward, reaching the southern tip of South America within a few thousand years. Within a span of a few tens of thousands of years, our species had traveled from the warmth of East Africa to the farthest reaches of the globe. This incredible expansion was not driven by a central plan, but by the accumulation of small, daily decisions to find food, seek shelter, and explore what lay just beyond the next horizon. Today, our shared genetics reflect this ancient journey, proving that regardless of where we live, we all trace our roots back to those early travelers who stepped out of Africa.